The thing about humans is that they never know when to quit. This particular trait makes them both fascinating and deeply annoying. My name is Zax, 7B, Senior Xenoanthropologist of the Galactic Council's Division of Primitive Species Research. I have spent 42 solar cycles studying humans, and I still cannot decide whether they are brilliantly resourceful or catastrophically stupid. Perhaps they are both. Before I explain how humans went from being the galaxy's most avoided species to becoming its most sought-after party planners, I should clarify something. When I say humans had no friends, I mean they had no friends. Zero. None. Not a single species in the Orion Arm would respond to their desperate, mathematically incorrect radio signals. There were 4,228 spacefaring civilizations actively avoiding Earth's solar system, marking it with the universal symbol for approach at your own risk. Contains unpredictable bipeds. The Vreenak of Delta Pavonis had a saying, "Never trust a species that still gets excited about explosions." The quantum hive mind of Beetlejuice put it more directly. Humans are what happens when evolution prioritizes curiosity over common sense. We had our reasons for keeping distance. Humans were the only known species to develop nuclear weapons before achieving reliable dental care. They fought wars over invisible borderlines and pieces of colored cloth on sticks. And most alarmingly, they kept sending spacecraft with pictures of naked humans and maps to their home planet into deep space, apparently oblivious to the fact that the universe contains entities that consider human flesh a delicacy. But I digress. This story begins with an accidental first contact in the Earth year 2047. Ambassador Krill of the Proxima Centauri diplomatic fleet never intended to reveal himself to humans. His small research vessel had simply suffered a minor gravitational propulsion failure while observing a human satellite launch. The failure led to a brief visibility in Earth's atmosphere, what humans would later call that weird blue swirly thing over Cape Canaveral. Within 6 hours, Krill's ship was trending on something humans called TikTok. By the next day, conspiracy theorists had enhanced, analyzed, and turned the footage into merchandise. 3 days later, humans had composed songs about the event, complete with a dance challenge that involved spinning in circles and falling down. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The humans have spotted Ambassador Krill, announced High Chancellor Zog, her 7 eye stalks twitching nervously. This constitutes a Class 3 visibility breach. Ambassador Krill, a gelatinous being who communicated through color pulses, turned a deep shade of embarrassed purple. My deepest apologies, High Chancellor. The quantum fluctuation was unexpected. The damage is done, said General Vrex of the Reptilian Alliance, his scales bristling with annoyance. The question now is, how do we proceed? Dr. Quasar, the Council's head psychologist, floated forward in her containment bubble. Perhaps this is the opportunity we have been waiting for. Our centuries of observation suggest humans are reaching a stage where continued isolation may push them toward more aggressive space exploration. Controlled contact might be preferable to their haphazard stumbling into a populated sector. Silence fell over the council chamber. Making official contact with humans was unprecedented. For millennia, the policy had been to observe but never engage, like watching particularly volatile bacteria through a microscope. High Chancellor Zog's central eye swiveled toward me. Xenoanthropologist Zax, 7B, you have studied humans extensively. What do you predict would be their response to formal contact? All 28 members of the council turned to face me. I clear my breathing tubes nervously. Humans are unpredictable, but they follow patterns. Based on their cultural artifacts, what they call movies, they have 3 primary responses to extraterrestrial contact: shoot at it, try to dissect it, or attempt to mate with it. General Vrex made a sound like gravel in a blender. That settles it. We continue isolation protocol. However, I continued, there is a 4th response that appears in 12.7% of their fictional contact scenarios. They throw a party. A party, echoed Ambassador Florp of the Gas Giant Confederation, the methane sacs on his head inflating slightly. Yes, a social gathering involving music, intoxicating beverages, and rhythmic physical movements they call dancing. Humans use these events to establish friendship bonds. Dr. Quasar's containment bubble brightened with interest. Fascinating. You suggest we initiate contact through a social ritual rather than diplomatic channels. Precisely. Humans respond better to casual interaction than formal proceedings. They become suspicious when things appear too structured or official. High Chancellor Zog's eye stalks waved thoughtfully. Very well. We shall attempt a party approach. But who will be our representative? Every council member suddenly became intensely interested in the floor, ceiling, or their own appendages. I believe, I said carefully, that since I have the most extensive knowledge of human customs, I should lead this mission. And that, dear readers, is how I found myself plummeting toward Earth in a diplomatic pod, clutching a bottle of fermented Andromedan seaweed juice, and wearing what my research suggested was appropriate attire: a Hawaiian shirt and something humans call cargo shorts. My landing site, a place called Wyoming, was chosen specifically for its low population density and high number of historical UFO sightings. The logic was that humans in such areas were more psychologically prepared for extraterrestrial contact. What my research failed to mention was that Wyoming in February is cold. Extraordinarily cold. The kind of cold that made my exoskeleton contract painfully and my antennae curl into tight spirals. As my pod's door hissed open, I was greeted by a vast whiteness and a blast of wind that nearly knocked me over. Squinting through the swirling snow, I could make out a single structure about 100 meters away, a small building with a flashing sign that read, "Last Chance Gas and Tackle." I activated my universal translator, adjusted my thermal regulator, and trudged toward the building. My 6 legs sank deep into the snow with each step. The interior of the establishment was warm, dimly lit, and smelled strongly of something burned and something else fermented. A single human male stood behind a counter, his lower jaw hanging open as I entered. He wore a head covering with the words, "Alien Hunting Guide," ironically emblazoned across it. "Greetings, human," I said cheerfully. "I come in peace and would like to throw a party. Perhaps you could direct me to your leader?" The human continued to stare. Then he slowly reached below the counter and produced a metal container. He raised it to his mouth, tilted his head back, and consumed the contents in one long motion. "Well, I will be damned," he finally said. "You look just like the thing that abducted my cousin Earl back in '98. "I can assure you, I have abducted no Earls," I replied, although I cannot speak for all galactic citizens. Some species do collect biological samples. The human, whose name badge identified him as Hank, narrowed his eyes. "What kind of alien are you exactly?" "I'm a Zentorian. My species evolved from arthropod-like creatures on a planet approximately 47 light-years from here." Hank nodded as if this was perfectly reasonable. "And you want to throw a party?" "Yes. The Galactic Council has determined that social interaction would be the least traumatic form of first contact with your species." "Huh." Hank scratched his facial hair. "Well, ain't nobody gonna come to a party out here. You want a real party, you need to go to Vegas." "Vegas?" "Las Vegas. Sin City. The entertainment capital of the world." Hank gestured vaguely westward, about 600 miles that way. "And this Vegas is where humans gather for optimal festivity. Buddy, Vegas is where we go when we want to forget we are human for a while. You'll fit right in." This seemed promising. How would one reach this Vegas? Hank studied me for a moment. "Well, you sure as hell can't walk. And I don't think the bus driver would let you board looking like that." He gestured at my entire body. "Tell you what, my shift ends in 20 minutes. I will drive you." And just like that, I found myself embarking on a road trip with a human I had met mere minutes ago. According to my research, this was either extremely dangerous or the beginning of a profound friendship. Possibly both. The journey to Las Vegas with Hank was educational. I learned several hundred new English words, most of which appeared to be profanities directed at other drivers. I also discovered that humans have a ritual called road trip snacks, which consists primarily of consuming items that turn one's fingers orange and drinking massive quantities of caffeinated beverages. "So let me get this straight," Hank said, steering with one hand while gesturing with a cylinder of processed cheese. "You aliens have been watching us for thousands of years, and instead of helping us cure cancer or giving us cool technology, you decided the best move was to throw a party. Your species has a troubling history with advanced technology," I explained. "We once left a detailed schematic for clean energy near a human settlement in ancient Mesopotamia. 6 months later, They had turned it into a more efficient way to launch flaming projectiles at their neighbors. Hank nodded. Fair point. As we approached the city, the landscape transformed from barren desert to a dazzling display of lights that outshone most stellar nurseries I had studied. Massive structures rose from the sand, defying both gravity and good taste. "Welcome to Vegas, baby," Hank announced as we drove down a boulevard lined with replicas of Earth monuments. "What do you think?" I pressed my face against the window and wonder. "Humans built this? In a desert?" "Yep. Nothing says human ingenuity like putting thousands of gallons of water in the middle of nowhere just so we can watch it dance to Celine Dion's songs." We parked at a towering building Hank called the Starlight Casino. The structure was designed to resemble a cosmic-themed fantasy, with twinkling lights and stylized planets. Ironically, it looked nothing like actual space, but exactly like what humans thought space should look like. "Okay," Hank said, turning to me in the parked vehicle. "We need to figure out your cover story, because alien throwing a first contact party might not fly, even in Vegas." "I have prepared for this," I assured him, activating my holographic disguise field. My exoskeleton and multiple limbs vanished, replaced by the appearance of a human male in a silver jumpsuit. Hank blinked. "That's your disguise? You look like an escapee from a 1970s disco competition." My research indicated this was appropriate attire for Las Vegas. Maybe in 1977. But actually, yeah, this might work. We will say you are a performer from Europe. Nobody questions weird stuff if you say you're European. With my identity established as Zax, the amazing techno dancer from Sweden, we entered the casino. The sensory assault was immediate. Flashing lights, ringing machines, clouds of smoke, and humans in various states of financial and moral distress. "Now," Hank said, "to throw the galaxy's biggest party, we need 3 things: a venue, attractions, and guests." The good news is I know a guy. Hank's guy turned out to be his second cousin twice removed, a casino event manager named Barry Silverman. We found Barry at the high-stakes poker table, where he appeared to be losing significant sums of money with remarkable composure. "Hank, what the hell are you doing in Vegas?" Barry asked, not taking his eyes off his cards. "Barry, meet Zax. He's a performer from Sweden, and he wants to throw the biggest party Vegas has ever seen. Tonight." This finally drew Barry's attention away from his game. He looked me up and down, taking in my silver jumpsuit and slightly off-putting holographic human face. "Tonight? Impossible. Unless..." His eyes narrowed. "How much money are we talking about?" I produced a small bag from my pocket dimension and placed it on the table. "Would 3 pounds of flawless diamonds be sufficient?" Barry's eyes widened as he peeked into the bag. "Gentlemen, I fold," he told the other poker players. Then to us, "Let's talk in my office." 6 hours later, the Starlight Casino's grand ballroom had been transformed. Hank had made good use of my unlimited diamond supply, hiring the best decorators, caterers, and entertainment acts Vegas could provide on short notice. Barry, meanwhile, had leveraged his connections to ensure that everyone from celebrities to politicians to influencers received invitations to the Cosmic Connection, Earth's first intergalactic mixer. "You're sure the rest of your alien buddies are going to show up?" Barry asked nervously, adjusting his bow tie. "Because right now, you're the only extraterrestrial at Earth's first intergalactic anything. They will come," I assured him, though privately, I was beginning to worry. I had sent the coordinates and time to the Galactic Council hours ago, but had received no confirmation. What if they had changed their minds? What if I was about to host a party where I was the only non-human attendee? As if sensing my concern, Hank clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry, Spacebug. Worst case scenario, everyone gets drunk, has a good time, and thinks this was all an elaborate theme party." The doors opened at 9 p.m. Earth time, and humans began to arrive, cautiously at first, then in growing numbers as word spread about the mysterious event. By 10 p.m., the ballroom was filled with Earth's elite, all drawn by curiosity and the promise of open bars. At 10:30 p.m., with no sign of the Galactic Council, I decided to proceed with the plan regardless. I took to the stage, my holographic disguise now modified to include a shimmering cape that Hank insisted made me look more legit. "Greetings, humans of Earth," I announced into the microphone. The room gradually quieted. "My name is Zax, 7B, Senior Xenoanthropologist of the Galactic Council. I represent one of 4,228 spacefaring civilizations that have been observing your planet for centuries. A murmur ran through the crowd, most assuming this was part of the evening's entertainment. Tonight marks the end of Earth's isolation. We have chosen to make formal contact through this social gathering because, frankly, every time we have tried more direct approaches, you people shoot at us. A few laughs rippled through the audience. For too long, the galaxy has viewed humans as the awkward neighbors who might accidentally blow themselves up while trying to change a light bulb. But we have come to appreciate your species' unique qualities. Your resilience, your creativity, and your absolutely baffling optimism in the face of overwhelming evidence that you should probably just give up. More laughter now, though tinged with uncertainty. To demonstrate our peaceful intentions, I invite you to party with us. Because if there's one thing humans do better than any species in the known universe, it's celebrating for no good reason. I raised my arms dramatically, prepared to trigger the spectacular light show we had planned. But before I could, the ceiling of the ballroom began to shimmer. A collective gasp rose from the crowd as the solid roof seemed to dissolve, revealing the night sky, which was now filled with spacecraft of various shapes and sizes, their hulls glowing with colors no human I had seen before. A beam of light shot down from the largest vessel, and suddenly the stage beside me was filled with beings. Chancellor Zod with her eye stalks, Ambassador Krill pulsing excited colors, Dr. Quasar in her bubble, and dozens of other council members, all wearing what they believed to be appropriate Earth party attire, mostly variations on Hawaiian shirts and sombreros. "We come a party," announced Chancellor Zog, her translator making her sound like a 1980s workout video instructor. For a moment, there was complete silence in the ballroom. I braced myself for panic. Then, from somewhere in the back of the room, a human shouted, "Best Vegas party ever!" And just like that, the ice was broken. Humans surged forward, drinks in hand, eager to meet their galactic neighbors. Chancellor Zog found herself teaching Earth diplomats the seven-limbed dance of her homeworld. Ambassador Krill discovered that his color-changing abilities made him the hit of the dance floor. Even General Vrex, who had been against the whole idea, was now enthusiastically comparing battle scars with a group of mixed martial arts fighters. Hank sidled up beside me, a drink in each hand. "Gotta say, Zax, when you throw a party, you really throw a party." I accepted one of the drinks. I must admit, I had doubts about this approach. "Nah, you nailed it. Humans can handle almost anything if you add music and an open bar." He clinked his glass against mine. "So what happens now? Galactic Federation? Space travel? You guys gonna share your technology? One step at a time," I cautioned. "Tonight is just about establishing friendly relations. The technical exchanges will come later, once we are reasonably confident you won't immediately weaponize everything we give you." Hank shrugged. "Fair enough. Though I could really use one of those holographic disguise things for my next trip to my ex-wife's wedding." As the night progressed, something remarkable happened. Species that had evolved on planets light years apart found common ground in music, dance, and a universal joy of celebration. The quantum hive mind of Beetlejuice engaged in a heated philosophical debate with a group of college professors. The methane-breathing Floops discovered that their natural gas emissions created spectacular effects in Earth's atmosphere, leading to an impromptu fireworks display. By dawn, humans and aliens alike were exchanging contact information, planning interstellar visits, and in at least one case, discussing the possibilities of cross-species romance. Though Dr. Quasar quickly intervened to explain certain biological incompatibilities. News of the Vegas First Contact Party spread across Earth like wildfire. Within days, humanity was gripped by a mixture of excitement, fear, and an unprecedented surge in sales of tinfoil hats. World leaders scrambled to establish diplomatic protocols for dealing with alien civilizations, only to discover that most extraterrestrial species preferred to communicate via what they called the human app with the disappearing messages. The Galactic Council, meanwhile, found itself dealing with an unexpected problem. Everyone wanted to visit Earth. Species that had previously viewed humans with disdain now saw them as the galaxy's exciting new acquaintances, like finding out that the weird kid from high school had suddenly become cool.as for me. I received a promotion to Director of Human Galactic Relations, a position that primarily involved explaining human concepts like weekend brunch and reality television to confused alien diplomats 0.6 months after the Vegas party. Earth hosted the first Intergalactic Cultural Festival, a 2-week event featuring cuisine, art, and music from across the Milky Way. Humans, it turned out, were uniquely equipped to appreciate alien cultures, having spent centuries practicing tolerance for the bizarre behaviors of other humans. 1 year to the day after first contact, I found myself back in Wyoming, sitting beside Hank on the porch of his newly expanded Last Chance Gas, Tackle, and Interstellar Refreshment Station. We watched as ships from various worlds landed in his parking lot, their occupants eager to experience what was being called authentic Earth frontier culture. "You know what's funny?" Hank said, sipping from a bottle of Andromedan seaweed beer, now Earth's fastest-growing import. "We spent all that time sending messages into space, trying to find intelligent life, and all we needed to do was throw a party. The universe works in mysterious ways." I agreed, my exoskeleton comfortably expanded in the summer heat. "Though I must point out that your messages were mathematically incorrect and occasionally contained nude images." "Yeah, in retrospect, probably not our best move." Hank chuckled, but all worked out. "Humans are now friends with the galaxy." "Not just friends," I corrected. "You have become the galaxy's entertainment specialists. No one throws a party like humans." And it was true. In the span of one Earth year, humans had gone from being the species everyone avoided to being the ones everyone called when they wanted to have fun. Across the stars, beings that had once feared human unpredictability now celebrated it. This night fell over Wyoming. I looked up at the now busy sky, crowded with the comings and goings of interstellar travelers. Somewhere up there, Chancellor Zog was probably explaining to the Galactic Council why she had approved the creation of the first human-Centaurian cultural exchange program, a program that, knowing humans, would likely involve excessive amounts of what they called karaoke. "You know," I said to Hank, "in all my years studying humans, I never understood why you were so determined to make contact with other life forms. Your own planet is teeming with species you barely understand." Hank shrugged. "I guess we just wanted to know we weren't alone. But you have each other." "Yeah, but we already know how weird we are. We needed to know if there was different weird out there." He gestured to the sky. "Turns out the whole galaxy is weird, just in different ways." I couldn't argue with that. The universe, in all its infinite diversity, had produced billions of bizarre life forms. But only on Earth had evolution created a species that would respond to meeting aliens by immediately inviting them to a party. And perhaps that, more than anything else, was why humans had finally found their place in the galactic community. In a universe full of wonders and terrors, they were the ones who remembered to have fun.m, why research continues to this day. Humans remain as puzzling as ever, but I have come to one definitive conclusion. They make excellent friends, terrible math students, and surprisingly good DJs, and sometimes that's all you need to bring a galaxy together.